There is one trick the pros do not want you to know, but it crushes when the water starts to get cold. I'm going to show you the modifications you need to make to this bait. I'm going to show you the unique head that you're going to have to use. I'm going to show you the baits to tag up with it. And I'm going to show you the one retrieve that the pros absolutely do not want me talking about. So if you've been struggling when it gets cold, this unique setup is going to become your new secret weapon. It is so simple, you are not going to believe it. So what am I talking about? I'm talking about this little head right here. This is the Omega Hookup Head. Comes in several different sizes, but we make some modifications to it because there is a technique that a lot of people are using with an underspin. But the Omega Hookup Head makes it even better. And today what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the modification I make, the baits I like to use this time of year with it. I'm going to talk about the locations of where I'm going to be fishing it, and I'm going to give you the one retrieve that's so simple you're going to kick yourself for not thinking about it, at least if you're like me, beforehand. Now, let's start with the Omega Hookup Head. If you haven't heard of the Hookup Head, then where have you been? Because we've already done a video on this last spring. This is kind of a brainchild between me and Taylor, and this is something that we use a lot, and I really feel bad about even saying this on South Holston a lot, is a stinger hook. Because a lot of times, even down in 80 foot of water, it's not the flash, but the vibration of a blade that will get you more bites. Just that tiny little bit of vibration when you're fishing for those smallmouth down there that deep, that they are feeding on shad, and it sets you apart just enough to get a few extra bites. Now, these come in several different sizes. This is the 1/4 ounce, the 3/8 ounce, which is what we'll be rigging up today. Oh, he sent me 2 of each. So 2 1/4s and 2 3/8. So this is the hookup head, and you can see it's got a steel leader that has a free swinging treble hook stinger hook on it. Now, what I love about this is that you can fish a swim bait with it, tag it, you can fish a minnow bait with it and kind of tag it in there, and you've got this nice little stinger hook. But I actually like to let it swing free, so when you're shaking it around, it's out there. But I do this. So this is the VMC hybrid, as I call it, the treble spin hook. This is a treble hook, and it's got a little blade in the middle. But one of the things that we like to do is actually remove that little blade and put a little bit bigger blade in its place. And so we remove the smaller blade. Sometimes depends on how big of a blade we want to put back in its place. We do have to remove that little split ring too, but we're going to take that little blade off. We're going to put a slightly bigger blade on. And it does really help if you got some good split ring pliers. And there you have just a slightly bigger blade on the hook. Next up, we're going to remove this little hook. So again, a good pair of split rings really does help. And then we just put the treble spin blade on. And there you have your head. Now you've got a little bigger hook, which gives me a little more weight to be able to get the bait down, because he does, I believe, only make it in the biggest size is the 3/8 ounce. So you got a little bigger blade, a little bigger hook, gets it down just a little bit, and you can really do some interesting things with this. You can put a swim bait on here, and it's kind of like a underspin, but that's not what we're going to do. There's a few different baits that I like to use if I'm going really finesse we're definitely going to go with the Damiki Armor Shad. One of my favorites from Strike King, the Z2, the 3-inch. I call it the baby Z2. If you want a little more girth, the X-Zone Rally Shad. I think this is 309. But one of my go-tos here lately has been this little color. This is green, Pro Green Pearl. I always want to get that backwards. But this is a great little color, especially in the clear water. This is the Yum FFS Minnow. So we're going to go ahead and rig this up. We're going to tie a pitsene knot on this real quick. Going to go about 5 to 7 times. Go through that top loop. Try not to get everything hooked and snagged. And then just cinch it down. Cut your tag in. And you are good to go there. So today we're going to use the Yum in that green, Pro Green Pearl. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of measure it up there, put my thumb about where it's going to come out. And I'm just going to poke a hole right there. That allows me to put this on nice and straight, where I'll come out the hole right there. And then we'll push it up onto the head. And there you got it. A nice little straight minnow. Now, let's talk about rod, reel, and line. So when it comes to rod, reel, and line, this is the kind of setup that I'm going to be using for this presentation. This is a Douglas rods. This is their higher end, not expensive, but higher end offering that they have. This is called the Matrix. This is a 7'4" medium. So it's a Douglas Matrix 704F. So it's a medium fast action. Great looking rod, love the colors on it. And I've got that teamed up with a Fitzgerald Stunner spinning reel. They were on sale earlier this year. My buddy Joey bought one. He's in love with them too. Great spinning reel. Hope to pick up some more of these. And as you can see, I've got my high vis pink. And I'm telling you, the pink line, especially in the lakes we fish, it's got a little bit of a green tint to it most of the time. So the yellow, especially in the spring, can blend in when there's pollen on top of the water and actually be hard to see. So I like the pink. And then on top of that, that is, by the way, Canine's braid, best casted braid out there. And if you haven't seen that video, that's another story. You need to go check that one out too. But along with that, we've got 8-pound test Pro 100, 100% fluorocarbon from Canine. That's our leader. And we do have a 10% off for both Douglas and Canine. So make sure you go down and follow those links in the description. Go check this stuff out, guys. You will not be sorry. 90% of the time, this time of year, when we talk about throwing a jig head minnow, it's definitely going to be main lake or mouths of creeks. First thirds, as I call them. So the first third, that's where a lot of your shad's going to gather up. It's where a lot of your bass are going to gather up to feed throughout the winter. Now, you can throw this down a bank and just kind of shake it as it goes down. That's called tight lining. That's a little different. But what the pros are doing, and the real secret to this, is that don't think about it as an underspin. I think a lot of people get hung up on underspins of just cast and retrieve, when that is actually the farthest thing from the truth, especially when it comes to these types of underspins. And what you really want to do is throw that out there and shake it just like you shake a jig head minnow. That's what a lot of pros are doing with underspins, and that's what we're going to do with this right here. But we've got an added benefit because we've got a stinger hook on it. So we can do a lot of different things. You can do a lot of different things with this, but a stinger hook, shaking it around out there, when they come up and swipe at it, or if they just barely nip at the blade, you're going to catch those bass. Shaking an underspin is the retrieve. Basically, you're going to make your cast, you're going to let it sink down, you're going to start shaking. Hook set, you're going to come straight up, Get your rod tip down so that they're not jumping, and you're just going to get them to the boat, get them in the net, or grab them in the mouth. Now, if you do that, remember, you got a bunch of hooks right here, so be very, very careful if you're going to lip them to get them in. Now, that's really it. It is that simple, and this thing is incredibly deadly. If you haven't used it, I would highly recommend you do. But just remember, just as we talk about that blade with a spinner bait or an Alabama rig of giving it a quick turn as we're reeling, shaking this blade around is more erratic than that and will get you more bites. Now, if you want another winter bait that is incredible, this is a completely weedless jig that Omega makes called the Salvation, and you really need to go check that video out right here. Otherwise, questions and comments in the comment section below. Like it if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe. Make sure you ring that bell. Be part of the 100% Watch Squad, and you geeks rock.